This video has been created to document and inform, not to endorse the crimes of those documented. Viewer discretion is advised. The internet's affinity for cats is a defining characteristic that has stood the test of time, from the early days of 4chan to your grandmother's Facebook page. Almost all of us view cats as cute and furry companions deserving of peace, love, and comfort. However, some view them as a commodity, not just to be bought and sold, but also to endure suffering for some sick sense of entertainment. With the popularity of shock sites and videos plaguing the internet for the entirety of its existence, it's no surprise that illegal animal videos have managed to find their place in the darkest corners of the web. But sometimes, these videos manage to crack through the surface and go viral. In April of 2023, a number of internet users became aware of a video featuring a kitten being killed with a blender, which made the rounds on Twitter and TikTok. The video was spreading to such an extent that even searching for the word cat would display the video uncensored for anyone to see. This video is obviously far too graphic to show on YouTube, and even describing its gruesome contents is a little too far. But to put it simply, the cat blender video is one of the most horrifying videos available online, and I highly suggest that you don't seek it out. It's obviously not a surprise that this video sparked outrage amongst any who were unfortunate enough to come across it, and many insisted the man responsible be brought to justice. When watching the video, at a quick glance, it's clear to see the blender has Mandarin symbols on the buttons, leading many to believe the video was filmed in or near China. Thanks to geotagging the video file, the Chinese government was able to locate the suspect, and he was eventually arrested by the police and had his identity revealed. His name is Wang, going by the online moniker of Cat Addiction Therapist. With a career in cat killing spanning over 10 years, Wang was responsible for hundreds of cat videos and images, as well as potentially thousands of innocent cats' lives being taken. When the police confiscated Wang's phone and personal computer, they discovered a seemingly endless supply of materials. Wang frequently utilized acids, alkalines, blades, explosives, fire, and even performed crude experiments and operations on those unfortunate enough to fall into his possession. He seemed to have a particular focus on pregnant cats as well as their unborn fetuses. In one particular video, a total of 16 different kittens perish. But that's just a few examples out of over 300 videos produced by the cat addiction therapist Wang Xiaoyi. And despite being detained by the police, he only stayed in custody for about 15 days before being released with no charges. When leaving the detention center, he was swarmed by animal rights activists, and later the story got him fired from his banking job. After all that had transpired, he released a formal letter of apology for his actions. I am Xiaoyi. With the help of my family and the organization, I have reflected on myself over the past few days, and I have come to realize that my previous behavior of abusing cats was wrong. I was really wrong. I brought a bad influence to the society, caused deep harm to the majority of caring people, my family, relatives, and friends, and caused a bad impact on the unit. For this, I express my deepest and most sincere apologies to everyone. I have deeply realized the serious mistake I have made. I sincerely admit my mistakes, repent, and correct them. I promise not to make the same mistake again. I will strictly discipline myself to be a moral person. Please supervise me. Once again, I express my sincere apologies and deep regrets to everyone. Notice he doesn't express any sympathy for the countless animals he harmed and killed. Rather, he shows regret for other people being upset and the supposed negative impacts that his actions had societally. Obviously, he doesn't feel bad for what he did, not that that would really make any real difference anyway, but keep in mind the tone of this statement, because there's something bigger going on here that we're going to come back to later. As days passed, the infamous cat blender video became just another internet happening gone by, with bizarre new trends taking up the online public's collective consciousness. In China, however, this issue is more than just a one-off thing. Rather, it was a lingering and persistent problem plaguing their side of the internet for years. Enter Shu Jui, better known online as Jack. Jack was popular on the Chinese video sharing platform Bilibili, where he gained over 300,000 followers posting mukbangs. However, the revelation that Jack found joy in gruesomely torturing animals gave him a new type of attention not previously achieved. In March of 2023, Jack managed to kidnap a black and white cat, who he brutalized over the span of 3 days, before the cat ultimately passed away. The owners of the cat eventually filed a police report, and Jack was detained. From there, they discovered a large amount of videos and images of cats on his phone, But just like Wang, he was only incarcerated for 2 weeks before being released with no charges. You may question how this is possible. Why is China so relaxed on their essentially non-existent animal rights laws? Unfortunately, there isn't really a great answer. A small but vocal crowd amongst China's population believe that, quote, caring for animals is elitist. It undermines China's development, and it infringes upon the traditions of those few Chinese who still eat dog meat. This, of course, does not reflect the majority of China's population, who could easily agree that domesticated animals deserve protections from harm. However, it seems certain members of China's government are preventing that from happening. The issue seems to have become a particularly prominent one in 2021, after a Chinese news article was posted documenting an animal snuff film producer making custom videos, which he would then send to clients. But this issue can be traced back even further. In May of 2005, it was discovered that nearly 30 different cats had gone missing on the campus of Fudan University. A third-year student named Zhang was responsible for the adoption of all of these cats, and claimed he gave some of the cats away or had just flat out released them. Zhang ultimately promised he would stop adopting cats, but this turned out to be a bold-faced lie. In November the same year, a student saw Zhang running towards his dorm room with a wailing caged cat in his arms. He ran into the room and shut the door behind him, but other students were able to break in, where they found a small kitten with a facial injury. In a public statement, Zhang admitted to previously taking out his anger on cats, leaving them for dead, although he claims the injury caused to the kitten was purely an accident. Rather than seeking justice, the school board apparently wanted to assist the young man in getting mental help, surprisingly sympathizing with him. Ultimately, Zhang moved back in with his parents, avoiding any legal repercussions thanks to the lack of animal rights protections in China. So why were Jack and Wang arrested? If there are no laws regarding animals, why would the police even bother? Well, the answer is somewhat complicated. China cares deeply about their public image as well as general peace and tranquility amongst their society. If you cause enough of a stir or public outrage, you may be hit with a picking quarrels and provoking trouble charge, with a potential of up to 5 years in prison. Jack and Wang's controversies garnered national attention. That is the only reason they were arrested by the police. This charge could apply to quite literally anybody, such as a comedian making an offensive joke or an activist group flying a bit too close to the sun. It mattered not what they actually did, just that whatever they did made people upset or made China look bad. Despite the law regarding animals essentially sparing Jack from any legal consequence, that didn't prevent fellow Chinese citizens from thinking of Jack as a heartless and evil killer. This backlash is likely what provoked him to make a statement addressing his involvement in the video. I feel very ashamed, remorseful, and sorry for my behavior of abusing cats and taking videos, grafting online cat videos, and sharing them in QQ groups. After the video spread on the internet, the public security organizations, the Internet Information Department, has severely criticized and educated me, and initiated the investigation of responsibility. I sincerely accept the supervision and condemnation of the netizens and criticism and education of society, and I am also willing to bear the consequences of this bad behavior. This statement, however, would do little to quell the interest and infamy Jack had garnered, and people began taking a closer look into who he truly was. Unfortunately, the only thing to be discovered was a long list of deplorable online activity involving thousands of animals. Jack is more than a deranged psychopath. Bizarrely, that would be a disingenuous framing of what he is. Rather, he was a deranged psychopath who led groups of other deranged psychopaths that enjoyed hurting animals. Consider Aiters, otherwise known as Love Cat, otherwise known as the Alliance of Cat Enthusiasts, in the Taiwan and English-speaking regions. A description found on the Aiters Twitter account shares little information as to what it actually is, simply describing itself as a vibrant community for people who love cats. It also requests anyone interested in joining to reach out to them on their website. However, the terms of entry seem to be far from anything that can be considered cat love. Requirements for joining the core group: shoot a video of your cat's life and death. At the beginning of the video, you need to write down your ID, the day, month, and year on a piece of paper. Then, put the note on the side and show it with the cat on camera. Before you start to love the cat, you need to show its vitality. When you are in love, you need to show how to play, and when it is over, you need to show the corpse. You are not allowed to move the cat out of frame, nor are you allowed to make any edits or jump cuts. Then, submit the video to the customer service. Website homepage has customer service counseling, and after passing the audit, you may join the core group. Notice the specific choice of wording here, as they avoid the use of words like torture, kill, or murder, and vaguely request you to love your cat on camera. This same support page also includes a tutorial on how to access a secret page on their website, which in and of itself grants access to nearly 300 different cat videos. But this website is not simply a hub for animal snuff. Rather, it was the gateway for a depraved community of over 1,000 active members to share their material, host competitions, and place bounties. Some of you may be familiar with this image. It's a pretty big meme. This cat is named Mr. Fresh or Brother Fresh. He's an orange tabby cat who became a well-known feline celebrity for his frequent appearances on the Chinese app Hello Street Cat. With at least 53 million stray cats in China, the issue has become a bit of an epidemic. Hello Street Cat seeks to provide stray cats with access to food and live streams their efforts in the hopes of drawing attention to the cause and raising donations. As of December 2024, they have aided in the spaying and neutering of over 50,000 cats and have fed countless homeless felines in the process. While Hello Street Cat has demonstrated a clear commitment to making the world a better place for cats, Aiters has only sought to cause destruction for its biggest celebrity. The group put up a $500 bounty for the confirmed death of Mr. Fresh, with an additional $100 if they placed his corpse in front of one of these cat feeder cameras. To collect, you needed to submit a video of the act and needed at least 3 reputable sources to report that it did in fact happen. Once they discovered this, Mr. Fresh was relocated and rescued before he could be harmed, and in current day he's been adopted and can still be viewed through Brother Fresh's exclusive Cat Mojo. While Mr. Fresh was safe and in good hands, this did not dissuade the group from continuing to do everything in their power to put a stick in the spokes of the Hello Street Cat operation. Russian activists were able to uncover the recent hacking of the Hello Street Cat website, which revealed the direct coordinates of every single feeder in China. This new information came along with a new map on the Aiters website, which at the time displayed the locations for anyone to access. Although at this time, the map seems to no longer operate properly. Regardless, the group, as well as many other zoo sadism groups in China, have been responsible for the disappearance of many stray cats featured on Hello Street Cat, with an estimated total of at least 8 felines. With the antagonizing actions brought upon a massive and beloved organization like Hello Street Cat, the group garnered a heavy amount of unwanted attention, and many began infiltrating the Telegram chat logs. What they found was sickening to say the least. Message after message of different Chinese citizens describing what they wanted to do to these cats in the most brutal and disgusting ways possible. Some of these messages even included confessions from actions they had already taken. But bounties weren't the only money-based incentive, as they also hosted a competition. From September 22nd to October 6th of that year, the community held a competition to see who could get 100 cats the quickest, with a grand prize of $1,000 to whoever completed the challenge, and an additional $500 for the person with the most confirmed kills. To qualify, they needed to show that the cat was alive, with a postcard showing the date and time of death, as well as an uninterrupted video without the cat leaving the frame, editing, or jump cuts while it was slayed. The sheer magnitude of a competition like this cannot be overstated. The logistics of conducting a competition with hundreds of contestants, screening through hundreds of videos, and facilitating a reward system for something as foul, degenerate, disgusting, and evil as this is mind-boggling, all for the sadistic pleasure and ensuring the mass slaughtering of innocent animals. Although it seems they may have overestimated the demand for a competition, with the first place winner getting 11 out of 100 cats. The Aiters/Lovecat group has recently been seen on Twitter, masquerading as an animal rights activist group. Its posts mainly consist of cat memes or activism drawing attention to the torture ring in China. One might think the name Lovecat was just an unfortunate coincidence from someone unaware of the group of the same name, but considering that it reposted images from Jack's snuff film, it's likely that they know exactly what they're doing. Even more damning is the existence of an alternative account in which it uses vocabulary such as filial son and maggot. When accused of hurting animals, they simply respond with one word: based. Riddled through the chat logs of Aiters, Lovecat, or the Jack cult are videos of cats being subject to torture within and far outside of your imagination. Without getting too graphic, the creativity used in finding new ways to indulge in their sick habits is unbelievably diverse. This raises a bigger problem entirely, that being that Jack is only a small percentage of a massive issue. As mentioned prior, there's an estimated membership of over 1,000 members, all of whom facilitate and ensure the torture of a countless amount of innocent animals. And it would be naive to assume that the Aiters Telegram chat is the only community doing this. Another Telegram group that Jack belonged to was the Ban Cats Literary Society National Cat Ban. The description of this Telegram channel reads, "We were established for the express purpose of promoting cat banning activities throughout the country, as well as publicizing the personal information of cat lovers, cat slaves, and internet saints, and publicizing art and culture." Once again, they're being very intentional with their wording, and they aren't nearly as sophisticated as they'd like to think. When speaking about publicizing art, what they really mean is posting gruesome images, such as one of a charred feline corpse found in one of the only remaining archives. This particularly pretentious language continues to be utilized in other forms as well, such as their channel announcements tab, where they commit to pass on their elegant culture. This elegant and esteemed art amounted to nothing more than live kill streams, in which pets are kidnapped and used as bargaining chips to extort them. One example of this involves a small kitten named Bucky. The group used Bucky to extort over 700 yuan, or $100 from a man, as well as coercing a woman to send indecent videos of herself in exchange for Bucky's life being spared. But ultimately, there's no reasoning with these people, and Bucky's life was not spared. Another example is the story of a 1-year-old British long-haired cat named Monica, who was lost during transportation at the Shanghai airport and fell into the hands of a zoo sadist involved in the ring. Under a false alias, Pang Xiang attempted to extort Monica's owners for $500 in cryptocurrency, threatening to do something horrible if they didn't receive payment. Because of a lack of cooperation, the man responsible began sending gruesome images in order to provoke them. The owner supposedly did eventually pay out the ransom, although it didn't save the cat's life. No legal action has been taken against the perpetrator, and he continues to do the same to cats to this day. But it was about much more than just money. It was about the sadistic pleasure that comes with their proclivities. Their hatred extends further than just cats and reaches to those who cherish them the most. They despise those who wish to protect their cats, and make sure to ensure suffering to anyone who offers a shed of empathy to the victims. Online detractors who spoke out against their antics, specifically those who criticized Jack, would be subject to relentless online bullying. An influencer with over 300,000 followers on Weibo, the Chinese equivalent of Twitter, reportedly received multiple packages to her P.O. box. She was terrified to pick them up, as the group had previously threatened to send her organs and limbs in the mail. This also came with a heavy influx of calls, text messages, and even photoshopping her head onto images of a separate, unrelated, nude woman and posting them online. Clearly, this group is much more complex than a group of mentally ill people. They sought to protect the name and legacy of Jack, who had become the figurehead of a cult. In the wake of his arrest and subsequent release, there was very little in terms of repercussions aside from a warning being plastered on his Bilibili account, informing the public of his illegal activity. What he gained was respect among the hordes of sick, twisted people just like him, who began seeking out any Telegram chat he frequented in the hopes of joining in. But it was about more than that, as the cult that Jack had fostered allowed the members to buy and sell products to each other. A custom snuff video could run a price tag of 4,000 yuan, or around $550, and based on a multitude of factors, certain characteristics and practices could bump up the price tag. For example, stray cats ran at higher prices because they were more resilient than domesticated cats. Breed type also factored into the total price of the final product, and they seemed to have a particular fascination on pregnant cats. I'll let you guess why that might be. And of course, you can't forget the aforementioned streams, not too dissimilar to Red Room torture streams supposedly hosted on the dark web. In early June, the group began hosting live streams, with their inaugural stream featuring a 2-month-old tuxedo kitten. Streams of this nature would continue over the coming months, and they would continue their blackmailing tactics, threatening activists and detractors with extortion in the hopes that they might reconsider. Of course, they never would. The man responsible was not even a man at all. Rather, he was a 17-year-old boy named Li Jiang. Li was responsible for the disappearance of over 20 kittens in just 2 months, live streaming his actions on Chinese social media sites like Bilibili and QQ, as well as distributing and selling illicit cat material for profit. Li had a particular fascination for the Nanking Massacre, better known as the Rape of Nanking. considered to be one of the gravest war crimes of all time. Over the span of 6 weeks, the Imperial Japanese Army took an estimated 300,000 lives and took part in violating 80,000 women. Despite being Chinese himself and the Nanking Massacre being driven by extreme anti-Chinese hatred, Lee completely supported the event, seemingly just on the basis of the suffering it caused. And as we'll find out, he isn't the only one in these groups who hates their country of origin. In his live streams, Lee would dress in Japanese imperial uniforms while wielding a bayonet, and yes, cats were also involved. In Telegram chat rooms, Lee went by the name Mukai, a reference to the 100-man killing competition. Self-evidently, this contest pitted Tsuyoshi Noda and Toshiaki Mukai against each other during the invasion of Nanking, to see who could rack up the most fatalities. While there's no direct evidence of how many lives were actually taken, it is believed that Mukai won the competition 106 to 105. As if the cat stuff wasn't enough, Lee's obsession with the Nanking Massacre only further solidifies him as a bona fide psychopath. On July 5th, 2023, Lee was making preparations for a small orange cat on a new livestream. Luckily, with the help of some internet users, the police were informed and interrupted the livestream before it could begin. Unfortunately, Lee was not arrested, and the kitten was not saved. In fact, its life was taken only moments later. This is likely due to Lee's father being a prominent member of his local county's government, and as a result, the police chose not to press the issue. After being publicly outed, Lee felt emboldened by his ability to get away, and he continued to provoke online activists with images of cats he intended to threaten. But you may wonder, how does a 17-year-old boy get involved with an online cult of this nature? Well, not only is it more common than you'd like to believe, but the involvement of minors is actually very, very intentional. Nearly 1/3 of the members that inhabit these online chat rooms were born after the year 2000. Social media apps such as Bilibili and QQ have a large amount of children and teenagers engaging online, and these live streams and chat rooms are easily accessible, to the point where one may stumble across them by accident. This is very intentional. Keep in mind the goals that this cult seeks to manifest, being spreading the sick harm in this content as far and wide as possible. They are indiscriminate in selecting those who join their ranks, with the one stipulation being an overwhelming perversion for abuse. Minors are easy to influence, and getting them involved is a much easier feat than corrupting the mind of an adult. As twisted as this logic is, for them, it's rock solid, and they exploit this reality in order to build their cat empire as large as they can. That being said, these children are not excused from their actions simply for being children. They are complicit and actively take part in the gruesome harm of animals. 17-year-old Liu Yu is another minor who was exposed for his habitual and sadistic videos back in 2023. And his habits are never something he's tried to hide. He does it in the open with his real name and face. People have speculated that part of him getting away with this for so long is because his parents are exceptionally wealthy and influential. His father, Cao Yang, is the vice president of the agricultural bank in the Sichuan province, and his mother, Liu Yi, is the CEO of China Merchants Bank Company. As a result, rather than shipping their son off to a psych ward, Liu's parents supposedly opted to enable their psychopathic son, with some speculating that they aided him in adopting a handful of cats. One of Liu's cats, a 2-month-old black and white kitten, was found in a trash can. It was taken to the hospital and unfortunately passed away. When a man who previously gave a cat to Liu's family discovered this, he went to their household in the hopes of saving the young Maine Coon. Unfortunately, it was too late by the time he arrived. This particular cat disappearance caught the attention of another former adopter who gave the family a tabby cat named Chestnut, but they too were too late, as Chestnut had already passed. As an act of attrition, Liu's father relinquished ownership of a small kitten in his son's possession. The kitten was not in any suitable condition, however, having already been subject to countless untold horrors, and the cat was eventually euthanized. This decision would send Liu into a psychotic meltdown, in which he began creating such a disturbance that the police were called. This situation would eventually be exposed by animal rights activists online, which resulted in heavy scrutiny not only directed at Liu, but also the banking companies in which his parents operate. However, the status of Liu at this time is unknown, and it's very uncertain if he has stopped harming cats. But Liu was far from the youngest involved in this activity. Qiao Yachi gained infamy at only 16 years old for her treatment of cats. Described by her detractors as a female demon, Qiao has also done her share of live streams and custom videos, the most infamous involving a calico kitten. Unfortunately, Qiao has yet to see any tangible consequence for her actions, and her current status is unknown. The previously mentioned Aiters organization, which was a gateway to these chat rooms masquerading as an animal rights organization, not only housed minors, but even had them running their website. Yuji was only 17 years old when she began maintaining administrative responsibilities and running the customer service chats on their site. But she was far more than just an administrator. You don't fall into a role like this without getting your hands dirty as well. Of course, she had her hands on plenty of custom videos and live streams, but most notably, she was instrumental in the doxing of animal rights activists, extorting those activists for money, and most bizarrely, anti-Chinese sentiment, specifically directed at the president. This is particularly interesting as on a technical level, it's likely the most illegal thing displayed in this video so far. Their habitual animal videos will barely get them a slap on the wrist, yet any criticism of the Chinese government may land you in prison. As to what their grievances were, it's difficult to figure out. If anything, you would think they would be grateful to live in a country that essentially enables their sadistic tendencies, but I digress. All of this was propagated alongside her boyfriend, Chen, a 22-year-old who has essentially the same exact digital footprint as his partner. So far, everyone we've talked about has received next to no consequence for their actions, but for our next subject, he wasn't able to walk away unscathed. Although if you're expecting any particular catharsis from the story, you are sorely mistaken. This brings us to one of the most important members of Jack's cult. I'm gonna be honest, I can't pronounce this name. This one's just too hard for me, so we're gonna call him Zhu. Of course, like everyone else, he creates handfuls of videos and live streams, but Zhu somehow manages to stand out from the rest of his peers. On top of cats, he's also passionate about basically any animal he can get his hands on, like rabbits or hamsters. He was also crucial in getting more underage individuals onto his path. But the most twisted action of all is his self-admittance to harming 3 stray cats, harvesting their meat, and then serving it to homeless people without their knowledge. He's also responsible for a plethora of gruesome images and videos, with a large digital footprint of sadistic ideation documented in Telegram chat rooms that he frequented. With enough public backlash from animal rights groups, they were eventually able to influence his university's decision to reject him, although it seems he continues to engage online and is likely still producing videos to this day. Of course, there are other cat communities separate from the cult of Jack. Peng Wandi, who also frequented the Jack Telegram chat rooms, was a key member of a different group called Ronin. She most notably was responsible for the disappearance of 7 different cats over the span of 5 days, who were discovered scattered across her college campus at Shanghai Tech University. Fellow students and teachers created a petition to have her expelled, where the school claimed to be looking into it. Ultimately, however, it's unclear whether or not the school took any real action. While some activists sought to bring justice to the animals being maimed, other activists were opportunistically using the cause to hide in plain sight. One example is a woman named Gao, another member of the Telegram chat rooms, masquerading as an animal rescuer to farm donations and conceal her hidden activities. However, Gao accidentally let the mask slip when investigating a kitten named Dodo, found in a garbage bin. Dodo was rescued by a member of an animal rescue group that Gao was hiding in. While the kitten initially held on and appeared to make a full recovery, he ultimately contracted an infection and succumbed to his injuries. In the search for the perpetrator, Gao mistakenly shared an image of Dodo before he was harmed, and other members of the group quickly realized that she was the culprit. As the group began investigating, they found that Gao was a member in multiple chat rooms, where she was found to have been responsible for the disappearance of at least 9 different cats. Gao's particular preference when filming these videos was to do it, so to speak, in front of their own cat mother. A police report has been filed against Gao, although it's likely no action will be taken. Someone who may be at a slightly higher risk of an eventual conviction, however, is Dai Yujan, a Chinese university student currently living in Australia. While there appears to be no direct evidence of Dai hurting cats himself, there's no doubt he was deeply invested in their suffering. Dai sought to derail animal rights activists by impersonating them online, and echoing anti-Chinese sentiments in the hope of getting them arrested or scaring them into hiding. If that didn't work, he would simply dox them or doctor fake nude content of them to push them away. He also shared various images of cats, as well as ideating on the possibility of disappearing other animals in his new home in Australia. Eventually, Dai's identity was exposed and he was confronted. Dai initially offered money to keep his identity a secret, only to be rejected. He then offered a handwritten apology letter, but the damage was already done. Dai has since deleted his Telegram account and is likely in hiding in current day. Someone who likely has no intentions of hiding, however, is Lei Li, as he has been involved in animal videos far before it was popular. In fact, he has a history going back 20 years. He's already been exposed 3 times, but his thirst for this kind of content is far too powerful to keep him away. With such a long time in the industry, so to speak, it's no surprise that his backlog of films and images is vast. He was even deranged and careless enough to do it in public, which was caught on CCTV footage. In one of these videos, he can be seen holding a cat by its tail and slamming it into the concrete road. This individual is more than just sadistic. He is unhinged beyond measure. In 2010, he was exposed for the first time, which prompted him to release a half-hearted and disingenuous apology. Despite promising to stop his behavior, he continued to do so anyway, and was eventually exposed again in 2015. But this too did not deter him, with him continuing to provoke all who dared to call him out. Most recently, he was exposed after being discovered in the very same chat rooms discussed in this video, where he happily shared his 20-year backlog of animal videos. Lei Li is believed to be active to this day, and that does not seem to be something that will change anytime soon. One surprising aspect of these groups is that their reach extends far past the Chinese border. One of their members, for example, was located in Malaysia. It seems that this particular individual ignorantly posted a cat video in a Telegram chat room that was not related to the ring. Authorities were notified about his whereabouts, and they swiftly took action and rescued the kitten. However, the worst kind of repercussions he could potentially face is ultimately a fine with no jail time. While a fine of 100,000 ringgits, which equates to over 22,000 US, is hefty, most, if not all involved in the situation would prefer he were put behind bars. The other foreign instance of activity in these chat rooms is a bit more complicated, as it's not just one person, but instead an entire organization. C31K is an online group that seems to be determined to cause as much chaos as possible. Composed of individuals mainly residing in Turkey, the group was responsible for not only the distribution of this content, but even videos of children. The group did create their own videos, but also distributed other videos from the Telegram chats discussed previously. One particular video seems to be of a cat placed inside of a plastic water bottle, came from a user named Sunny, a name that appears frequently in the Telegram chat logs. But everything would change for them on October 4th, 2023, when one man's actions went far enough to raise attention from the authorities, being responsible for the death of his ex-girlfriend and current girlfriend before taking his own life. Supposedly, some strange brand of incel ideology plagued the minds of C31K's members, and they publicly celebrated the incident, as it satisfied their own rampant misogyny. This would ultimately come back to bite them, however, as this behavior garnered attention from the feds, and from there an investigation began. It would all come to a head on January 14th of 2024, when 5 individuals were arrested in connection to illegal activity on Discord and Telegram. These were all members of C31K. A surprising revelation in these arrests was that most, if not all, of these individuals were minors. On top of that, this entire situation actually played a key role in Discord being banned from Turkey. So far, it seems the only members of these animal Telegram communities to be arrested are the members of C31K. Everyone we've discussed thus far has had a heavy involvement in the cult of Jack and general Telegram chat rooms, but this is not an issue relegated to just Telegram and other various social media. So let's discuss a few lone actors who managed to make a name for themselves. Zhou Xuan is a woman who specializes in selling both animal videos as well as not safe for work content, and somehow finds a way to blend the two. Masquerading as a high school girl, Zhou makes animal videos in which specifically kittens are harmed. For some period of time, they were offering around 1,200 yuan or $170 to receive a custom video. She's also had no problems posing for selfies with corpses, among a wide variety of other disgusting activity. In May of 2024, her local police department informed the public that they were aware of the situation, although nothing seemed to have been done. To this day, Zhou continues her animal crushing business without issue. Another woman in a similar business is Cao Shan, who supposedly uses her shoe store as a front. Cao offers a wide selection of high heel and stiletto shoes that she uses in these videos for her male patrons to choose from. Once selected, she films herself using these shoes, in conjunction with a variety of animals. But even less terminally online individuals have been caught in the act. Take Feng Jiang, for example, who has falsely adopted potentially 200 different cats, all of which mysteriously vanish only days after coming into his care, with dry blood caked on his floors, and potentially hundreds of cats managing to disappear. It's very clear. Of course, going through 20 different adopters and asking for cats multiple times earns him a negative reputation, and reports were eventually made. It got to the point where Fang's story was covered on the local news, something that seems to have scared him off. However, no legal action has been taken at this time. Du Haiming is a resident dentist at the Yulin First People's Hospital by day and a cat lover by night. In April of 2024, Du adopted a cat named Porridge from an 18-year-old girl. However, only days later, Du called the girl to inform her that he had lost control and the cat was no longer alive. Devastated, the girl requested the cat back to give it a proper burial. For some reason, Du obliged, but she never would have expected the state the cat was in, as Porridge's body was unrecognizable. Knowing that the law protected Du, the girl went to the hospital he worked at in the hopes of getting him fired. However, they supposedly told her that they did not care. All of this caused the young girl to have a mental breakdown, and she even attempted her own life, although fortunately she survived. Surprisingly, Du is not the only medical professional who has involvement in these rings, as a surgeon named Wang Zhenhua made a small fortune filming cat videos. Wang would frequent various hotel rooms where he would make various videos featuring cats, dogs, rabbits, and more. He also supposedly invested over $4,000 into custom snuff videos. And, of course, Wang used his skills as a surgeon to perform various operations on a handful of animals. Luckily, however, the hospital Wang worked at was much more empathetic than Du's. Wang was arrested during his shift at the hospital and taken away by the police, and the following day he was suspended. Although, it doesn't seem he's been formally charged, and it's unknown if he still continues to do this to animals. Another man who became infamous for this behavior is Wang Tianwan. Residents who lived in Wang's area began reporting that numerous cats in the neighborhood were being found with metal arrows. He supposedly targeted stray cats to undo the work of good citizens kind enough to feed them. People began reaching out to his father in the hopes of potentially stopping Wang's reign of chaos. However, his father brushed it off, saying he is not abusing cats, but killing strays. He goes on to explain that strays pose health risks to citizens such as rabies, justifying his son as some sort of hero pest controller rather than a deranged murderer. Because of his father enabling him, it's likely Wang still patrols the streets looking for more cats to this very day. While on the topic of these street cats, a man named Zhang A. Chen gained infamy after he was seen in broad daylight harming a stray. He only stopped when multiple fellow students at his university restrained him. He even managed to give himself a bloody nose in the process during this meltdown. It turns out that Zhang was involved in local cat groups online where they would share information regarding where to find different stray cat shelters. Zhang himself has a history of kidnapping cats and attacking them, which has resulted in multiple cat disappearances. He has faced no repercussions for his actions. The most recent name to make the rounds in this situation is Su Zipeng, a college student responsible for at least 20 cat disappearances, all on his school's campus. These cats were not simple strays, but instead beloved pets of his fellow classmates. Not only has he been responsible for the disappearance of handfuls of cats, and not only has he caused grief for many of his classmates, but his presence has struck fear into every other cat owner on campus. What's very unique about Su is that his cases are less gruesome. He uses poison. He has no interest in causing long-term pain. Rather, he revels in the thought of taking their lives. He is quite literally a cat serial killer. Despite this, however, his university has apparently refused to hold him accountable, despite the massive headache his presence causes everyone around him. I could go on and on with countless horror stories involving even more individuals tied to this situation, but for the sake of not being redundant, I think you get the picture. The Blender video was not a one-off anomaly. It was not the byproduct of a singular insane person interested in stirring up controversy. Rather, it was just one moment in a timeline of persistent harm. While some have attempted to rectify the growing issue, for whatever reason, it continues to persist. Their growing infamy is something they are well aware of, making references to white pigs watching them and implying that the white pigs deserve to be disappeared as well. They also share a similar distaste for filial sons, a phrase they use for activists trying to stop them, whom they are also well aware lay amongst their midst gathering information. But ultimately, they couldn't care less, and instead continue to craft new ways to harm animals, as well as ideating on how they want to violate their victims. They do not care, and they probably never will, unless the Chinese government takes part in a serious crackdown on this behavior. The videos they film of these animals is their muse, their passion, and everything they live for. Without it, they have lost their purpose. In the process of scanning through countless individuals complicit in this mass murder, it's easy to get tunnel vision regarding the subject. That's why it's important to take a moment to establish that, despite the absence of any laws protecting these innocent creatures, the majority of the Chinese population does not support this behavior in any form. A common stereotype amongst Asian countries is the idea that eating cats or dogs is a common occurrence. While that does exist to a certain extent, it is considered by most to be extremely taboo, with around 80% of Chinese citizens believing it is completely unacceptable. It's also important to keep in mind that consuming cat meat was actually legal in 44 states in the US until 2018, not even a decade ago. I bring this tangentially related fact up to point out that behaviors being more prevalent in a certain society, in contrast to a more Western society, does not mean that these behaviors are overwhelmingly common or socially acceptable. At any given time, these rings exist in every country across the globe. This issue is not exclusive to China. All of these individuals discussed in this video have been exposed with the help of Chinese animal rights activists, and backlash on social media directed at these individuals has come from Chinese netizens, as well as countless Chinese citizens who have been struck with grief and anxiety over their lost pets. The most prominent movement in relation to this story is the Chinese animal rights organization Feline Guardians Without Borders. On their website, they have compiled a list of various people related to the situation, with full biographies, descriptions of their crimes, and potential methods of bringing them to justice. They've also managed to organize dozens of real-life protests advocating for legislation to protect animals. This is extremely risky, as protests are prohibited in China, exposing all of these individuals to potential arrests and imprisonment. Despite that, news publications are more than happy to report on these issues when presented to them, thanks to the help of Chinese animal rights activists. They've also managed to facilitate billboard placements in Times Square, informing one of the most populated cities on the planet of the horrors taking place. Foreign aid extends further than just billboards, however. Animal rights activists in Japan, France, the United Kingdom, Mexico, Colombia, Peru, and countless other countries travel to their nearest Chinese embassy to protest. All of these have been facilitated with the help of feline guardians and other animal rights activist groups. While their work is both admirable and appreciated, they'd be the first to tell you that unfortunately, not enough progress has been made in actually resolving this issue, as it still remains relatively niche outside of China, and many inside China fear prosecution for their work. Going back to our perpetrators, the primary currency for these so-called cat lovers is not money, nor is it the cat themselves. Rather, in some way, it's attention. As mentioned previously, they enjoy making people squirm. While the issue itself was already a prominent one for years, it was only exacerbated by the infamy of Wang Xiaoyi's cat video and Jack's public outing as an animal abuser, with entirely new cults, chat rooms, and streams birthed within the ashes. It's not lost on me that, in a sense, this video gives them exactly what they want. That being said, attention is also their Achilles heel. With enough consistent pressure, the burden that these groups bring will no longer be worth the headache, and action will inevitably be taken. On the Feline Guardians website, you have the ability to send one-click emails that are pre-written directly to Chinese government officials and embassies. It hardly takes any time out of your day, and could be a crucial action to solving this problem for good. There are also ways to donate to various shelters and animal refugee facilities, which aids in their fight to rescue as many animals from sadistic torture as possible. All of this is done in the hopes of one day establishing common sense animal rights laws in China. But until that happens, these sadistic and twisted people will continue to indulge in their egregious behavior, enabled by a government that currently doesn't seem to care. I've been Turkey Tom. Thanks for watching, and until next time, leave the cats alone.